I know this is your show, but I have a correction on something that we've said earlier on one of the programs. I can't remember which one it was because we've done so many of these things. Where did we talk about Tony Khan firing back at Fox News for their not even really uncomplimentary article, just the article that they did mentioning that AEW's ratings had cooled off over the last few months, and he fired back at him on Twitter. When did we talk about that?
We talked about it on The Experience, but I think also the bigger picture was it tied AEW's ratings into an overall picture of the family having issues with various businesses right now. I think that may have been the more sensitive topic of it.
Struck a nerve, as Dennis Condrey would say. But as I mentioned to you when you had first said, did you see the Tony Khan fired back at Fox News? He basically sent back these charts of figures because he's a statistics fellow, is Tony. And he sent all these charts of all these statistics.
A statistics fellow.
A statistics fellow, as opposed to a fishmonger and a meat gentleman. And then you have the statistics fellow. And I told you at the time that we were going to talk about it, I said, I saw what he said in that, well, our program for the last however many weeks has outrated any of your programs. And I said, and that was good. And I said, way to fire back, Tony. You're getting some balls there, right? Because if somebody knocks you and you can say, well, more people watch me than watch you, well, then that's a good way to get back at them. And I said that he had sent all these statistics, which on the Twitter machine, even if you click on them, I'd have needed a microscope to read all this shit, right? But the overall meaning was that, well, good for Tony, right? Guess what I found out? He was lying.
What?
His AEW has not beaten the Fox News programming. And also, I was heartened. I was optimistic that people were finally seeing through Fox News' bullshit, right? And weren't watching the program anymore. But come to find out, neither one of those is the case. Tony was lying, and more people are still watching the Fox News programs. Tucker Carlson, that bow-tied, bloviating bag of bullshit, gets 3.5 million viewers every night.
He dropped the bow tie a few years back. It was hurting that gimmick was hurting his bigger gimmick.
I don't think he has a bigger gimmick. The bow tie was probably cutting off the oxygen to his brain when his mother tied it too tight in 4th grade and he never untied it. But Tony was saying that AEW was winning the ratings in the, can we all say it together? Key demo. There's many more people watching the Fox News programs even than watching AEW. This comes from Ron. I won't give his last name. It's got one of those little dravas over the E, so I don't really know how to pronounce it anyway. But he says, Jim, Brian, one thing you overlooked when discussing the story of Tony and his microscopic ratings charts, not microscopic ratings, but the charts, is that Tucker Carlson gets 3.5 million viewers every night. Tony's point about AEW winning in the ratings was based entirely on the key demo, not overall audience. He just didn't clap back. He didn't just clap back with stats and info. He clapped back with heavily skewed and somewhat irrelevant stats. So basically, that's like saying, well, more people in Pittsburgh that like to eat fish were watching my program than yours.
Well, what he could have said is, more people who don't need a walker watch my show by far compared to your shows.
Well, or more people.
More advertisers pay attention to my show than your shows. That would have been legitimate.
More people that don't need a brain transplant probably watch Fox News. But still, when you're having to shave the cornette down that close to the cob, it wasn't a blow-away comeback like we thought it was.
Well, Fox News is looking to respond. I heard they're trying to sign Orange Cassidy right now for a primetime show. We'll see what happens.
He would probably be more, well, I mean, all the rest of them stick their hands in their pockets and play with themselves on Fox News anyway, so he'd fit right in that respect. But that's